Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome to today's weekly Town Hall meeting, January 9th, 2022. Today's agenda is project and development updates, documentation updates, marketing and content updates, collaborations, and Q&A. Robinson, can you please start us off with project and development updates?
So thank you, Kelly. Happy 2023 to everyone who is listening to this call. And this time I wanted to take a retrospective look into what we achieved in last two quarters. So the engineering metrics will talk about our overall performance, engineering performance for the last 6 months. So the difference is usually I used to show what happened in last 2 weeks, but this time these reports are generated for a period of 6 months. So just to give a little background, we introduced these DORA metrics around 6 to 7 months back. And for the last, at least for the last 6 months, we have been actively following these metrics and try to improve those across these four pillars that we measure. And in general, this has been helping us a lot. So, but what is missing was we were not having an historical information to compare with, let's say, our previous years or anything. And also, it took us a little time to implement this new metric. So right now I have these four metrics in a different format, or rather generated for 6 months. So to begin with, our speed. So it looks like our overall speed from starting of development to release is around 25 days. So that's essentially that is we're talking about a month, like 30 days a month. So it's almost 30 days. And if you look into the smaller graph, we can see that the review time is quite okay these days, but the release time, the overall time for release is still quite high. So we have been taking steps to automate our QA, which may improve this. But in general, if you look into this graph, what's happening is it looks like we're able to do the development. That is, whatever all the activities that the development team is doing, like committing the code or reviews. That seems to be quite okay. But when it comes to pushing this out to the end user, that's taking more than a month. Like this is showing around 4 to 6 days. So that is an area we need to improve a lot. We need to automate. I think our bottleneck is primarily the QA completion. So it is nothing against the QA team or anything. It is just that we don't have enough automation. So we have to do everything manually. So that is one area we need to improve in 2023, so that we can do faster releases. So that's an important action item the development team has to take as a whole, and it is also one of our organizational efforts to have more releases and push out more releases per every quarter and every half yearly basis. So we have to take this up actively. We have to look into automating things as much as possible. Everything like QA, DevOps aspects. So we need to bring in a lot more automation to improve this. On the deployment side, here we probably we are definitely on a right track. We have, let's say, every week we are having a release, and the smaller graph shows that most of the contribution is from Next. And I mean, lately we had JS, Lib, and other developments, which is contributing to it. But one interesting observation here is that we don't have any blockchain releases contributing to this. So that's because our release was in I think around June mid. So that is not contributing to these releases. Now we're considering releases and deployments almost as the same thing. So we have to this 0.77 releases. It should become at least 1.5, because we have 2 or 3 DApps. So ideally we should have one release for every DApp. So it will become something like it will definitely become more than one release per week. So that's another action item that we need to look into and optimize. This is the throughputs or the number of pull requests that we are doing. Interestingly, this is when we compare against the industry, we are at par with the industry standards. So it has been peaking when we had active development in Next and everything. And towards the end, when the holiday season has started, it has dropped on, but it looks really good. But this chart is very important because our the release time. So the time for release is around 50 days, but here we are seeing that the amount of development that we are doing is quite high. That is because we have a lot of PRs and we are in the industry's healthy area. So it's very important to note that the releases that we are doing or pushing out is not enough. So that it's a really concern because we are seriously lagging on the automation. If we push that, our releases also will increase tremendously, and it's a shout out to the development QA and DevOps teams that we have to showcase what we're doing. We really have to automate more because here this graph, what it is exactly showing is that we're doing a lot of work. We're actually doing exceptionally good considering the complexity of the work. But when it comes to the releases, it is not reflecting. So if you fix that, that area also will become healthy. So that's this automation and pushing out releases quickly. Once again, that's something we really have to prioritize in 2023, so that we can get all these green rewards and awards, just like what is being shown in this graph. And this is also, I also wanted to thank everybody in the development team for these healthy area that is being shown in the graph, because it really shows the amount of work that we are uh, putting across all our projects and repositories. So as of to all of you, our quality metrics. So it is it's not exactly very accurate, even though it is showing 10 percentage and everything. But what's happening is these are production issues deployed against any deployed software. That is how these quality metrics are captured. Now, since our production deployments are very less, if these numbers, 10% number is not, even though it is looking positive, looking pretty good, it is not very, it is not essentially conveying much. So again, it points down to our first point, that is we need to work on increasing the releases. But in general, is the quality also looks good, which is to say, generally, whenever we push out something out of the door to production, there is not much bugs in the production releases, which is in any case a really good achievement. So to summarize, this year in 2023, we have to, I think, work smartly and push out more releases so that how the hard work and achievements that we are making us, it is a lot more evident. We need more releases. We need to push out more products to the end users. So that's important. Individual product updates, starting with the blockchain updates. So we are pushing out, we're trying to push out a major alpha release of Peerplays legacy code base. So it will have massive updates across suns, and we have separated Hive suns, like all the suns, Hive suns, ETH suns, and Bitcoin suns. They are separate, logically separate now. So that's an enormous update. And in the case of Bitcoin Suns, we are replacing the Bitcoin D with libBitcoin, which is expected to bring in a lot of improvements. And the major one is we have completed the development of Ethereum Suns. QA is pending, but the development is completed. So that is also another item which we'll be releasing in the alpha release. Another item that we're working on was the support for ERC20 tokens. Originally, we added to the Ethereum, since we added support for Ethereum, but later now we have also introduced support for ERC20, which is to say any ERC20 token can be moved back and forth between Peerplays and Ethereum. So if you have a token on Peerplay, or rather any token on Peerplays, it can be moved into Ethereum, and let's say it can be put into a liquidity pool or any of those things. So that's been completed. So development is completed. We have various scenarios and a few bugs to iron out. So that is another item which we are pushing out in this alpha release. And on Ethereum Suns, again, the POC is getting improved day by day. There are a few known bugs, but we are getting closer to a final release. So the idea is that sometime in by mid Feb we'll have a mainnet release. So in the next 1.5 months we'll have extensive testing for all these features. And closer to the release, we will update our naming from alpha to beta. So hopefully, early Feb we'll have a beta release, which will be a lot more stable. Yeah, and I think another important update to Suns is that we now have connection pools for every blockchain network, every sidechain network. Now it is so what's happening currently was that we were able to connect with only one API node. So that was kind of a single point of failure. Even though when it comes to networks like Ethereum, Infura, and these massive providers are providing stable API endpoints, but the solution was not very impressive, to be honest. But now we are introducing connection pools, which means theoretically, even if multiple API nodes are going down, the connection pool will still work. So that is also another massive improvement that we are bringing to our sidechain technology. And on Substrate, we are continuing to develop. So the developers continue to develop, make more progress. So the developers working on leave till Jan 15. So we don't have too many updates there, but we are making a lot of progress. On the next, we have another internal release available and deployed at next.peerplays.com. Please, anybody who's interested, please do check this out. I think the most important updates is on Next over the past month and this month is that the QA team has introduced this tool called Nimpal, which is nearly a magical tool for automating QA processes. Apparently, this tool is able to speed up the QA automation process by 5 to 8%. So it looks like that's why I use the term magical. So 5 to 8% of not 5 to 8%, 5 to 8 times. So 5 to 8 times of improvement is, I think, somewhat like nearly magical. So this means this tool can take inputs or test scenarios in plain English. To be precise, it uses this BDD or behavioral driven testing format or language called Gherkin. So we can input scenarios in Gherkin and it converts those in plain English test cases into code, and we can do both automation as well as performance testing using this tool. So that was a major achievement that we had in the last couple of months. So really appreciate the QA team who has taken the support, effort, QA and DevOps teams. On the DevOps side also, we had to do a lot of things because the tool is deployed is using AWS, so we had to make a lot of tweaks there. Oh yes, and we also introduced or integrated with our CI/CD, the GitLab CI/CD. Those were not exactly something Nimbal was supporting, so the DevOps team was able to do that. So a lot of commendable achievements with this tool. And on the development side, we've been most of the developers are on vacation, but whoever is working, we're working on improving the test coverage. And the next steps would be most primarily on improving the market page functionality. So that's something that we're taking up right now, in addition to the Ethereum Sun features. And we're planning for a general availability sometime in Feb, mostly early Feb. So, and we are working towards that. And to be very clear, the Ethereum Sun functionality will not be available in the first release. Next, this first release will not be having Ethereum Suns, but everything else that we have will be available in this release. On Peerlink, the UI for this project, this cross-chain swap project between Layer 2 and Peerplays and Ethereum. So the UI for this project is completed, and we're trying to get some more clarity on the backend. And So we are working on those steps right now. This is about our libraries. So we had massive updates on our JavaScript library, and we have a new version 081 available via npm. So over a period of last 1.5 years, we were not having these npm releases. Rather, we were using directly from the source code repositories itself. So now we have release, and this release is addressing all the non-security issues, and it also has a lot of new features. So that release is done. And on the Python side, also we have completed known vulnerability fixes and a lot of bug fixes. We are trying to make a release and get it published too. So that there's a small work regarding the test coverage in progress. So once that is also done, we will have a release for Python library as well. So that's all for the from the development team. I just wanted to summarize that our focus for next this year, along with the project that we're working on, we also have to look at this aspect of increasing the releases. So that's a major item that we have to take up. And that's all from the development team. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Robinson. Sean, documentation updates, please.
Hello, thank you. So for our documentation updates, we have a new user guide for Nex that we have published in our community docs. We have one for Dex. Now we have one for Nex, and as Nex takes over where our Dex is, we're going to be keeping our Nex user guide up to date. So upcoming documents, we're going to have a Kickstart guide for new developers. We're going to have some documentation on the fee details for blockchain transactions. Coming up, we're going to have a risk register for our mainnet, and we need to continue working on functional specs for peer review so we can have developed requirements there. So thank you very much. That's my update for today.
Thank you, Sean. Michael, marketing and content updates, please.
Morning, afternoon, evening, everyone, wherever you are, and happy Monday. Primary focus for the marketing and communications team this week will be to develop and finalize a hard launch plan for DEX, which is scheduled for next month. We will meet today to review a two-pronged approach to the overall campaign. We will have a 2-week pre-launch campaign. I know these dates will float, but they were based on a February 1st date from last week. That initial campaign will focus on reach and engagement. Post-launch, depending on the date of actual launch, we will have a second campaign that will focus on traffic generation. Moving beyond the launch date of this platform, we will be ensuring to incorporate all updates and release information about the new platform to our community and to our ongoing daily activities. So the conclusion of today's meeting, Jan 9th, with the marketing team will sort of define the assets that we want to incorporate into the campaign that will be pointing directly to the new platform in order to increase our community involvement. I wanted to give you guys an update on the weekly emails. Those continue to perform pretty consistently since we moved over to a new platform in Email Octopus. Despite the holiday period, they're pretty consistent around the mid-teens, low teen mark. I also wanted to share an update on the number of people who are subscribed to that email. We have a -2% variance over December, but I don't want anyone to get alarmed. We're now managing these lists based on the deployment of each of the weekly emails. So we're removing those people who are no longer at the emails where they belong. So lots of hard and soft bounces, understandably some unsubscribes. But it's good to get to a point where this list is really accurate and we have as many sort of engaged active participants as possible. So we will continue to do this work in the first quarter of this year. On the social media side, I wanted to give you guys a snapshot now that Christina is here and sort of involved in daily deployment of posts. We continue to see a spike in our numbers, not the greatest spike ever recorded, but it's an upward trend on the majority of our platforms, as well as one that's holding steady. This is really good news because it implies that the work that Christina is doing on social is resonating. This goes back to comments I've had at previous town halls, which is, I think the first quarter of this year will be an evaluation period to determine which platforms are really performing in the manner that we want them to, and make a decision on those that are no longer doing so. On the positive side, we have close to 150,000 combined social media audience. Obviously, there's a subset of that is actively engaged, but as we continue to ramp up our participation and our volume of posts on social this year, that number will actually increase, hopefully. We've also updated the visible links for Peerplays on all of our social media platforms to a Linktree platform, which has a bunch of different direct access links. I haven't listed them all here on the screen grab. One-click access to multiple different locations on our social platforms on our website, in order to overcome that period of familiarization that new users will have on our new platform. I wanted to show this slide last week, but we obviously didn't meet. I think there's a good news story in here that when we look at the Google Analytics tool for our peerplays.com primary website, we can see that 2022 versus 2021 was significantly increased. Obviously, it's very clear from the graph that there was an ad campaign run through the months of April, May, and June, and that's driving the majority of the traffic to the website. However, this tells us that there's only so much that we can accomplish organically. And this is really important when we look at the above mentioned ad campaigns for the launch of DEX. A lot of the secret sauce and a lot of success lies in targeted campaigns. And so we will be focusing on that work through the remaining of this year, and with particular focus to the DEX launch in February. Again, just a general slide of the data of the first month of the first week of this year versus the last month of last year, despite the fact that, there's a certain large percentage of people who are no longer in the office. This bodes well in terms of the social media activity that we're currently activating, generating contacts and visibility back to our website. So I will provide more details on some of these metrics as we go through the first quarter of this year, but some positivity in amongst the data, and we will only be making evidence-based decisions on what these reports tell us moving forward. That concludes this week's marketing campaign, and I wish you all a very productive week.
Thank you very much, Michael. Jonathan, collaboration updates, please.
Hello, these are the collaboration updates for Peerplays for starting this year. So in the gaming sector, we had Gaming Benefits Corporation that is in the regulated charitable gaming sector. We've had numerous calls with them going back to last year all the way up until today, and that's going very well. Data modeling is now complete, and we are getting underway with completing that. We've also had some other meetings where they illustrated to us where Peerplays aligns with the applications that they're creating and how they expect that to grow over the next couple of years. So that was very exciting. That continues to go well. And in governance, Government Blockchain Association, PBSA has been a member of the GBA for some time. And with that, it's given Peerplays some exposure. We've started to explore that relationship with them again through various calls. We are actually looking at getting more involved in terms of creating standards around their blockchain maturity model. So this blockchain maturity model creates a standard for governments and companies to be able to create a decentralized blockchain and actually meet certain requirements. Because blockchain is so new, there's a lot of companies out there that don't know how to deploy a blockchain in a way that is actually decentralized. And the blockchain maturity model helps to ensure that they meet certain standards. Specifically, we are going to be participating in their decentralized ID work group. So there's lots of talk about digital IDs around the world right now. And one thing that nobody is really been able to overcome is how to be able to deploy decentralized ID. Now, I know that there's there's the Decentralized ID Foundation that is out there. There's a couple of work groups out there, and some have come up with different ideas on how to do this. But we're going to be working with the Government Blockchain Association to help form standards that will tie into their blockchain maturity model. So this will help to set the stage for how to handle and how to deploy decentralized IDs. Also in the gaming sector, because of our long history in the gaming space and the work we've done in the past, we are going to be taking a more hands-on role in their gaming work group, so that they'll be able to, again, also be able to create modules around that, which will tie into their blockchain maturity model. So that's where Peerplays is going to come into play. pretty exciting stuff, and expect to see more on this in the coming year. So yeah, that's good. In community, we've had a number of weekly meetings with Avalon Meta in regards to their scenes platform, primarily updates as to their improvements and being able to meet our requirements. That still continues. We're expecting actually this week to see a really big update that is supposed to take care of most things that were outstanding, and we're looking forward to seeing that. But in the meantime, we do continue to communicate with them in order to be able to move forward with them. And as far as dedicated team updates is concerned, we are team complete. There are no changes at the moment, so there's no updates on that front. And that's the update for today.
Thank you, Jonathan. Questions, comments, thoughts? I'll leave it open to everybody here. Okay, and we had one that came in from the community. So, Jonathan, this question will be for you. Why is there very little volume on DEX, and what is the new DEX going to offer to address this?
I recall the same question being posed. So the answer then essentially was it's a matter of timing. When it makes sense for liquidity to be able to fill the marketplace is all about timing. The current DEX interface was adopted based on a design that was done by a BitShares team, which is where Peerplays comes from. The expectation was to save time, but it only turned out to be a poorly thought out design with some back-end code that took us a lot more time to clean up than it was expected. That's why the DEX hasn't been exactly stellar. When starting on the new DEX, the design for the new DEX, we needed a code base that would be cleaner, easier to maintain, well documented, secure, and has a better handling of side chains and Peerplays, because there's no interface in the world that knows how to handle that. That's something that's unique in terms of the technology we've developed. So more importantly, we needed something that was better aligned with Peerplays in terms of its brand. So what is about to be released are the foundations for a whole new experience and understanding in how people exchange value, right? Which is what it all comes down to. It will start with operations that are generally familiar with most that have used any kind of an exchange before. So when you see the first release, it's going to feel somewhat familiar. But as it evolves, there's going to be features and functions that make value transfer easier to access, which is something that is a challenge in the crypto space. Right now, in crypto, most tools are designed around copying financial tools, right? They're meant to target a specific market of traders who are using them to buy, sell crypto assets for the purpose of profiting, right? So while this is certainly one way Peerplays decentralized exchange could be used, it isn't the primary focus that we have in mind. The DEX will evolve to ensure that convertibility of tokens or coins can become a natural function rather than a trader function. So what that means is that we won't be creating demand from traders, but from using PPY primarily for its application, which comes mostly from our collaborations right now. There are still more things to bring to the DEX for better onboarding, ID management, insightful interfaces, and lots of other things that we are actively talking about. But this release, though, will primarily make it easier to get sidechain assets into Peerplays and being able to more easily participate in the voting to keep the chain secure. So that's pretty much it. So if you haven't looked at it, I highly suggest to check it out. A lot of work has gone into it, and I think it's really a huge step up from what we had before. So I'm pretty sure that you're going to be pretty happy with what you see there.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. If there's no more questions here, that was the only one that came in from the community. This will end today's weekly town hall meeting, January 9th, 2023. I hope you all have a great week, and we'll see you on January 16th, 1 week from today. Have a great day.